Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. Welcome to the community live stream. This is October 14th, 2019. My name is Chuck Tomasi from ServiceNow, and I am here to bring you not only the answers on the community, but the answers behind the answers. The journey of discovery. Come learn while I learn and find out how that learning process happens so that you can take those reverse engineering skills, those questioning, the inquiry, and bring it to your organization to become a more effective ServiceNow administrator and developer. That being said, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much. Don't forget to like the video if you see something that is helpful. If you see something that is maybe mildly entertaining, go ahead and click like. If you're watching this on the community, then please hit the helpful link or the helpful button and let other people know there's something helpful here for you. And they will see that as well. Share the video, subscribe to the video if you can. Go ahead and subscribe, turn on those notifications so that hopefully at some point in your morning you will get a notification. Unlike today, for whatever reason, this feed is not giving us notifications. I checked the settings. I'm going to go back to some of the other people who are involved with this on the community so that we can look into that. I apologize for not getting notifications out for the last few, but we do try to do this. Weekdays, 2 p.m. UTC is the new time, and get that information to you. I will not be doing any more for the next week or so due to personal commitments. I have in my hands a coffee mug with a very faded picture of me and my two daughters. I will be spending some family time this next week, working remotely from Michigan. So I won't have the studio at my disposal to bring you the live stream. But in the meantime, you can go back and watch some of the episodes that you did miss. There might be something in there for you. Good morning, John. John has joined us. He sets his alarm by 2 p.m. UTC, apparently. So thank you very much. You can also watch this on Twitch. Maybe some of you, where is my Twitch? There it is. Wrong button. Maybe some of you are using that as your alert status. John says he got the notice. Mine is a little slow. And hey, there's mine. All right, things are looking a little more appropriate. We've gone with a more generic one. You can see it just says ServiceNow community now, or live streaming. It doesn't have my picture on there because we're sharing the same stream for multiple things. So that I can get away with that. You know when there's a live stream going on this channel if you subscribe to those notices. Thank you very much for letting me know, John. And YouTube's just a couple minutes slow. So while other people are joining, I will continue on. We do this on Twitch, twitch.tv/nowcommunity if you want to watch there. Very good idea. We also, if you have more than a shout out or a, hey, how are you? You've got a question about ServiceNow. You've got an issue. You've got something that is on your mind. You want to try it out. Go over to the community.servicenow.com. That's what we've got right behind me. And that's what will be happening as we go through the majority of this show. I'll be pulling questions from there. Post that in the right community. You can see over here on the left-hand side, there's a menu with lots and lots of community options in them. It's also available from the plus. I don't have my the machine rebooted, and I need to turn on my cursor highlighter so you can see where I'm pointing my cursor. So mouse locator turned on. Why you have to start the preferences again, I don't know, but you just do. So you can also press this plus button right here next to my head. It's not next to my head on your screen, obviously. But if you get these in the right community, for example, if you've got questions about reporting or analytics, put that in this space and you will get people who know more about that. You can actually subscribe to an entire space and get notifications when there are postings made. See the subscribe up here? That's how you say, tell me everything that's going on in this space. If you are really into CMDB or something of that nature, you can subscribe to an entire space and get that news brought to you so you know when things are going on. Community is a very flexible platform. This is running on our customer service management software. So if you didn't know that what you see is what you can get, or maybe what you've got. If you want to start your own community for yours, it doesn't have to look exactly like this, obviously, but you can configure it for your organization, your branding, and get that support out to. Shameless plug for CSM. I am That's about as much as I know on CSM. I am more of a platform guy, custom applications, integrations. So that's what the majority of this content will be about. That's the community. If you want to learn more, dive in deeper, get your hands dirty with ServiceNow, then I encourage you go over to developer.servicenow.com where you can get a free personal developer instance. There is information about learning where you can get free online learning plans. Go through and complete those. There's all the API documentation for server, client, REST APIs. Lots of information. There's where you get the free personal developer instance under the Manage button. Lots and lots of events. There's the Share portal. There are code snippets. There are service portal widgets. There are complete applications out there available in the Share portal under the Share menu. Somebody was just asking about that this morning. There was an old link. Share portal used to be its own separate site and application. It's share.servicenow.com. It's been integrated into the developer portal. They said, hey, the link doesn't work anymore. I think they were looking for an IBM Watson integration. So I came here, went to home, typed in Watson, and I got 3 hits on it. So Watson Services, Virtual Agent Pre-Kingston, and Virtual Agent Conversation. So easy to use, easy to find, easy to look for. If you're just looking for widgets, man, you're going to find a ton of widgets out here. Lots and lots of service portal widgets you can choose from, and it goes on for 22 pages like that. Events, we've got developer meetups, we've got ServiceNow user groups. A lot of the events here are developer focused, not entirely though. Now at Work Tokyo is taking place. Well, if you do the math, it's taking place in a few hours because this is Tuesday. It's Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, and this is being recorded Monday morning, so it's already late into Monday night over there. Now at Work London, same time frame, different time zone, obviously. The Chennai has a developer meetup. You can scroll through here. We've got our Tech Now webinar coming up. Hey, Tanvi, our wonderful, wonderful helper on our team, has put that in there. So I'll get to that in just a second. This is all over at developer.servicenow.com. You can explore and learn and go there. If you're interested more about the meetups, like this Columbus ServiceNow developer meetups, I invite you then to go to meetup.com. And if there isn't a chapter in your area, there are 56 of them. I can see that down here, 56 chapters coming up on 20,000 people around the globe interested in ServiceNow development. Be part of that community and talk to other developers about what drives them, what they've learned, what you've learned. Share that information, much like we're doing here. It's just an open exchange of information with like-minded people so that you can all learn, grow, and become better. Good morning, Russell. Good morning, Chad and Lockik. Says, just took training last week. Awesome. Discovery exam. It's good stuff. It's changed a lot since I first learned Discovery in 2010. Basics are still there. Curious if Discovery also includes these service management? No, not service management. It's the I'm really spacing out the top-down discovery as well as the horizontal discovery. Let me know. I don't know what the answer is to that. I don't know if they put the two together or if they are separate technologies and separate exams. Just curious. What else do we have? The events. If you want to find more events, they're over at events.html over at servicenow.com. Just scroll down to the bottom. It says something on the order of events. I had it here a minute ago. You scroll down to the bottom and events and webinars is what it says. And it'll bring you to the URL you see there, events.html. If you want to find out more, I'm always sharing news and events and webinars and that kind of thing on LinkedIn, as well as Twitter. You can follow me on either one of those. Just look for me and my name. It's pretty unique in the ecosphere. I haven't run into another Chuck Tomasi on the internet yet, at least not one with a bow tie. If you see an icon that doesn't have a bow tie, it's probably not me. So there's that. You can also find out more at Knowledge next year. This is the time to be talking to your boss. Say, hey, it's October. May is right around the corner. I know it seems like a long way away, but it's not, because the higher up the organization you go, the shorter that time span seems to get. They think in quarters. They think in annual goals. They're already thinking about stuff they want to do in 2021. Trust me. And this is something that you want to get on the calendar. May 3rd through 7th in Orlando, Florida. I almost said California, but no. Orlando, Florida. You can get lots and lots of hands-on training, customer-led sessions. I think most of the breakout sessions are customer-led, something to the tune of 80%. If you want to go possibly cheaper, consider submitting. Call for speakers will be opening soon. I don't have an exact date, but get your ideas together. Things you've learned, things you've done in your organization, your accomplishments. Get those organized and propose those. Say, hey, boss, I'd like to go. Here's one possible option. Do I have your permission to submit this and potentially be chosen as a speaker? No speaker. No guarantee that I can get that done, but not a bad idea to keep that in your back pocket as a way to reduce costs. If not, then we need to allocate whatever it is, $1,500, $1,800, $2,000 for the conference fee. Keynotes, lots of keynotes. I think there's one every morning. I know I'm going to be on that bandwagon to help organize that content very, very soon. So look for information coming out about knowledge. Knowledge.servicenow.com is where you'll find all that information to get the up-to-date information. So that being said, getting back to that webinar that I was talking about Tuesday, that's next Tuesday, the 22nd, we will be doing Guided App Creator, which came out in New York. Way to streamline, make it easier for people unfamiliar with the platform to create applications so that they can get started quickly. Building tables, importing spreadsheets, building mobile apps. Very, very fast, very, very easy. So let's do GitHub, any code that I write today, scripts that I write. I want to make sure they're accessible to you. You can find those through GitHub at bit.ly/sn-cls. In a dated folder, today would have today's folder of 2019-10-14. So you can look forward for that. Chuck, will you be at Now at Work London? Matt, unfortunately, I will not be at Now at Work London. I am leaving tomorrow to work remotely from Michigan. I don't know if you missed that, but I have a family commitment on the 19th that I must attend. And as much as I wish I could be in London, I look forward to it every year. I cannot go this year, and I am very, very sorry that I can't meet a lot of the wonderful people there, be part of the developer meetup, hoist a glass of ale, a pint of ale with the best of you, but I will not be there this year. I will be at Now at Work DC, Sydney, and Frankfurt. So if any of you are watching this and will be in that neighborhood at that time, Frankfurt at the end of October, DC is in 19th and 20th in Washington, DC, and Sydney is the week before. I think it's the 13th and 14th. So look at that page that I just showed you about the events, and it'll all be there. But unfortunately, I can't be at London. Wish I could. Hope you have a wonderful time and enjoy yourselves the most. Shane says, hey, YouTube is working. Yes, YouTube was partly my fault, partly a software upgrade, partly bandwidth. It was all over the place a week or two ago, so we're glad to have this back. And when would you dynamic inputs in New York? Is this only for IntegrationHub? Yes, dynamic inputs are for IntegrationHub because it requires an integration. You need to send that outbound message. We were covering these on Live Coding Happy Hour. Let me just finish this up real quick. If you're new to JavaScript, you want to learn something about JavaScript, you know nothing, you've never done scripting before, you don't have a computer science degree, and I know I'm talking rather fast. I pity the people who are watching this on double speed. Sometimes I can be a little difficult to understand. So go over to sn-learn-js and you can get a soup to nuts, start to finish, what other metaphor I can throw in there to learn JavaScript on the ServiceNow platform. It's not going to teach you everything about the Glide Record API or Glide system. That's for our scripting course or online tutorials. This will get you started with the basics of the JavaScript language. So that's one of the prerequisites if you sign up for one of those courses. There is a prerequisite that you know JavaScript. This is a perfect inroad to that, or gateway drug if you want to do that. Getting back to dynamic inputs. Dynamic inputs are very similar to what you see in the platform if I were to go to, say, a UI policy. Let's do that. Or a business rule. Let's do a business rule. Real quick. I normally don't take questions through the chat, but hey, we're here. We're going to do this. System definition, and I create a new business rule. This, you may have seen this before, whether you've done a UI policy, a business rule, something with a condition field that has a related table. And if I say, let's make this based on the incident table, I am choosing, this table is pulled from the database at runtime. Sometimes you'll even see the little spinner and say, hang on, I got to retrieve the list of tables. Oftentimes it's cached, but sometimes people flush the cache, blah, 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 whatever. So if I get the incident table, this is in effect a dynamic input. It's not a static list of tables somewhere. It went and queried the database and said, give me all the tables, and you can put conditions around it to say, give me all the tables that are extensible, give me all the tables that are part of this one base table. It's configurable in how you get this list of tables. I believe that is actually a table name field. If I say show collection, it says type table name. Okay, that's what I would call an onboard dynamic input. And when you do that, it affects the filter conditions down here. These fields are directly tied to this field. And you can see that if you go to show filter condition, there is an attribute. It's not an attribute, it's a dependent. So I could say configure dictionaries, can say, do you want to leave all these wonderful changes you did by picking a table? And I say, yes, I absolutely do. And the dependent field down here says, my dependent field is collection. Note the table name field is not called table name. It's not called name. It's not called table. It's called collection. And you'll see this in the dictionary because it is a type of collection. This dates way back to the early days of ServiceNow when they were just getting started and didn't quite have the same standardization we do today. But you'll often see a field with the field name, not the label, the field name element, and you'll see a table with a table name field called collection. Don't get confused. It's just a legacy thing. It goes way, way back. But always check. In fact, that's a good policy when you're scripting or doing something. Right-click on this and say show collection. Well, that's odd. You now know the field name for this table, labeled table. Or if you see filter conditions, it's called filter underscore condition. Okay, even though it's labeled with a plural, it doesn't have a... Sometimes it's called filter, sometimes it's called query, sometimes it's called condition. Okay, you got to look at the field names. So that is what I would call an onboard dynamic field. Two of them, actually. With IntegrationHub, we now have dynamic inputs that do the same type of thing. There is what I would call a getter. If you go back and watch last Friday's from the 14th, that would be the 11th live coding happy hour over at developer.servicenow.com. On the YouTube channel, you will see that we did dynamic inputs, and we went to Linode and said, hey, what regions are there? Well, there is a piece that's done at design time that goes out and does a REST query. And it says, oh, you've got these regions that I want to put in a drop-down list, because me as a maintainer of that spoke, of the action of the spoke, I don't want to go back and say, oh man, I got to go add another choice list back to the dev environment because Linode went and added a region that nobody knows about. This will let you do this dynamically. So when Linode adds a data center in Ukraine or Tokyo or Mumbai or wherever, you've got that already built in. That drop-down list is going to query it and pull it back. It's done at design time, not at runtime. So don't get those two confused. I got that clarified on Friday by Dave and Andrew. That does the same kind of thing. Goes out and makes a query. If you are, say, integrating with your CRM and you need to know the table and the fields, you could say, show me the tables. Maybe it's Jira and you want to know what types of what types there are. There's bug, there's issue, there's project, there's, we added 3 or 4 of our own. You can now create that integration. It's part of IntegrationHub. So dynamic inputs are part of that in New York. So, hope that answers the question, Chad. It's similar in function, it's dynamic. So like I said, if you pick a table here, it does the same kind of thing in IntegrationHub. If I pick a table and says, go out to Jira and look for a list of tables, there is a piece of code that goes out and gets those tables and feeds them into this list. Based on those tables, it does maybe a second query, or maybe it's part of the same query. It really depends on how that other endpoint is set up to return that information. It could be a big nested array of arrays. Don't know. Really depends on that. Okay. Whew. Live fire. Let's do a refresh on this. Got kind of an apple cinnamony herbal tea going. Very fall-like in the Northern Hemisphere. And I'm going to do unreplied, see what we can get out unreplied. If this turns out to be a dry well, I'll go a little deeper into the developer community. Software asset management, I'm probably not going to dig into that one. IT service management sometimes. Convert the change schedule to the monthly view like CAB Workbench in ServiceNow. Convert the change schedule to the monthly view. That sounds like a reporting question more than a how to convert the change schedule to the monthly view like the CAB Workbench in ServiceNow. Okay, since I have no idea what the context is, can you provide some context about what the business requirement is here? Screenshots or mockups would be nice. Requirement is here. Screenshots or mockups would be very helpful. On the surface, this sounds like a reporting question, but I want to make sure before offering the wrong advice. Ta-da. Okay, first one. I think I need to move these buttons a little further apart. I almost hit the wrong one again. Discovery setting, load balancer, operational status, non-operational. That almost sounds like it goes in ITOM. Make sure you put these in the right community. Developers may not actually be able to answer this. Okay, I'm not sure what I just hit, but oh, I went for the developer community for whatever reason. Let's see, I'll probably be able to find that one if it's not answered. There we are. We have a virtual Citrix NetScaler VPX instances running on SDX appliances. I'm going to take your word for it since most of those letters go over my head. The VPX instances have been discovered as CIs. However, discovery set the operational status field as non-operational. As a result of this, our service mapping is failing. Service mapping, that's what I was looking for before. I want to know if discovery and service mapping were the same exam or different exams. We have to manually change their status to operational for service mapping to work, which is not ideal. The problem we are having is when the NetScalers are rediscovered, of course, the schedule is run and it goes back to non-operational. Obviously, we can put rules in place to stop discovery, overriding, or manual changes, but we feel it shouldn't need to. Has anyone experienced a similar issue discovering load balancers, as nothing in the local config suggests the status has been defined? All right, with any integration, you want to take a look at what's coming back. And Discover is an integration. You're going out and you're making a request and you're getting back a payload. Now you have to analyze that. As with any integration, wow, fingers really off the home keys there. As with any integration, you want to check what payload is coming back. Remember, Discovery only asks the questions that you, I can never spell this word, prescribe. If you aren't seeing a status in the response, then the probe is likely not asking it. Check to see, spell check, fix it, done. Check to see if there is a way to get the operational status from the, I don't know what the VX, SDX, VPX instances have been discovered. VPX, not CPX, VPX instances, and add that to your probe, or classifier actually, believe. I don't know, someone's taking an exam tomorrow, you tell me if I'm close. This is old stuff. Once you ask the question, then the sensor can be added or modified to react to it and set your operational status field accordingly. That's really the whole deal. Is real quick rundown of how discovery, the horizontal discovery works, is it goes out and looks at a range of IP addresses and asks some basic questions to see what protocols this thing speaks, SNMP, WMI, or SSH. And when it gets a response, it makes a note of that and then comes back and starts drilling in a little deeper. So we do this in a very hierarchical fashion. So if the Shazam probe is what we call it, does that initial inventory of what's at those IP addresses and says, oh, let's say we're discovering things in my house. 192.168.86.104. It goes, I see it speaks SSH. I'm going to bet that's some type of device that is Unix or Linux. But I'm just going to make a note of it that port 22 is available. Yeah, sorry. Wow, I said that so fast I didn't even think about it. Yes, port 22 is SSH. So it makes a note that 86.104 has port 22 open. When it's done with that initial scan, it comes back and hits those again and says, oh, when I get to 22, try some SSH credentials that somebody has set up, whether it is Unix, Linux, Solaris, HPUX, maybe it's a special device, because I know that some network equipment also has SSH capabilities. And when it gets a good credential, it then says, aha, let's try a uname-a command. And usually in there it will say some type of operating system or version. Then it goes, oh, now I know this is the difference between a Solaris machine and an HP machine or an IBM machine. It knows the operating system, and it can then ask more detailed exploration questions once it's classified that machine. So again, starting very generic, like what port is open, and then working its way down to very specific questions of, hey, this operating system has a completely different way of saying what processes are running, or what applications are installed, or what ports are open, or what NICs do you have, than this other operating system asking those same questions to get that same information. When questions are asked, it comes back to a sensor, which then parses that and puts it into your CMDB accordingly. Hope that works. Good morning, Steve. Gloomy and cold, rainy Stockholm. I'm not going to Stockholm anytime soon, then. Note to self, Stockholm in the fall. So that's my 30-second elevator pitch of how discovery works, and I think I've exhausted most of my ITOM knowledge with that 30 seconds. Let's load up another one, see what we can find. Thought process journey of discovery, reverse engineering. That's what we do. Incident tasks link in workflow notification. Let's find out. I might get a little religious on this, I don't know. I have a catalog item workflow that is creating an incident and an incident task. When the activity fails, I'm trying to send a notification. When the activity fails, why would the activity fail? That's interesting. I don't know what the conditions around that would be. Trying to send a notification with a link to the incident task and not the request item. How can I achieve this? This is my notification activity. I have tried the workflow.scratchpad.inc task, which is the sysid of the task, but I am only able to get the link to go to the task and not the RITM. I thought up here we said with a link to the incident task and not the RITM. You need a reference in here somewhere. Requested by is current.variables requested by. Termination is current.variables, 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 current.variables. So current indicates what? Current, oh, we've got a response. I think you would need to change this to be a record producer and then create a workflow against the incident task table. I need to know a little bit more about the workflow and how the process is working. If the catalog item is creating a record, if the workflow is running against the SC-rec item or requested item table, then current represents the RITM. You can simply link to your URI. URI ref is a link to your request item. $URI, oops, try that. URI ref points to the RITM record. Is that not what you are seeing? If not, what are you seeing? Okay. Lots of writing the last few days. Another one. Let's see what happens with that. We do have something in the inbox. I want to go check that out. There was a question earlier today, just before I started the show, that I want to get back to. Convert the change schedule. Here we go. This is a response to what we just answered around the change schedule. So CAB Workbench is a monthly format. Change schedule is in the below format. Change schedule looks like a timeline. I want to make the change schedule in monthly format like CAB Workbench. Let's see. I have not looked at this in millennia, but let's see what happens. Is the change schedule out here? Change schedule. Change schedule, change schedule, change schedule. Render, render, render. Take a drink. Pin schedules, your schedules, all schedules. I don't have any active one priority changes. Let's take a look. And no, but what you could do is that is its own separate page. URI is SN change, SOC change under SOC.do. It's using a whole different page. You could represent them that way. There's no reason why you couldn't. Okay, CAB Workbench. The change schedule page is its own page with its own format. SN sock. Fingers ran away. Sock change sock.do is the specific name of the page. I don't believe you can configure this. You can just define. Let's go into one of these definitions, see what it says. Record summary, sharing, start date, end date, related definition, column fields, blackout maintenance. No, it's meant to do it. It's a fit for purpose page. Wherever my inbox went. It's a fit for purpose page. If you want a similar calendar format, you can create a calendar report from, anybody remember off the top of your hands? Reports, create new. That was too easy. Reports, create new. We could probably be nice and put in a link to some docs, calendar report, because that's just good community etiquette. Calendar reports, there we are. Ooh, even with a pretty picture. So create link, HTML, go back here and paste, done. Coin. And another topic I wanted to discuss that came up in the inbox was this one around a new button. Let me pop this out so we can see it in an entire context all on its own. It shows up a little bit better this way. They said, hey, I've got customer service management. When I go into the customer contact list, I go into the account form and I use the magnifying glass. It's a reference field, so I'm popping out the window, and I notice that contacts doesn't have a new button on it. Now, there may be a specific reason for this. When they go to contacts here, it does. There are times when you don't want people doing this. Okay? There may be a part of the process where you need to first fill out the form, then hit the related list. And if you do this from an embedded reference list, it's not going to look the way you want. So this may be doing this for a purpose, but it brought up a topic that I don't cover that often that I thought I should. If you, let's take an example for my favorite incident. Let's go to Open Incidents, and we have a new incident button here for creating a new incident record, and the caller field has a magnifying glass, which we notice also has a new button. Now, it might make sense if you're taking a call to create a new contact, and you get the sysuser record in the default view. For whatever reason, you may not want that. So Two important things to note. What table is this and what view is this? And if I were to follow the same rules and be writing my incident process, say, I do not want that new button to appear there. I've got a couple of options. One is to go in here and say, configure list control. And in here, I can say omit new button. That's as simple as it gets. So check, I'm gonna turn that off. It's a little loud. Let's go to no noise on the phone right now. Thank you. Things happen. Omit new button. When I submit that, it says invalid table selected because I'm out of scope. Let's try this in the global scope because that's where incident lives. Global. Try that again. List, configure list control. There are lots of other things under list control. I invite you to look around. And as I learned from watching some upcoming features, there are more coming. So check this screen out every once in a while. Omit new button, omit edit button would be on a many list. You can do that. Omit if empty. You can have the list just say, you know what? Not going to do it. That's more helpful on a related list. Like, hey, there's no records in this related list. Why would you want to show it anyway? That may make sense in some cases. You may have a requirement that comes up. Let's do that. Now, when I click caller, I do not have a new button. The other way of doing that, let's say they already checked that because I know they did in this description. They said, I already checked list control. It's not in there. It's not checked. The other way would be to have a UI action override that. Now, when I go here and say configure, it's not going to let me show it there. But if I go to any other list layout and say configure UI actions, there they are. UI actions are the manual triggers, buttons, links, things that you must click to make something happen. You typically have some script behind them. And I say, hey, you know what? Show me all of these where the name is new. And you'd be surprised. There's 115 of them because certain lists have their own special rules about what that new button looks like, does, how it behaves. And I am going to create one of my own. You can see they're on different tables. There's one for incident. There's three for incident. Now, some are list, some are form. You decide. There's one for many-to-many related lists. There's normal lists for incidents. They behave differently based on these different rules. Let's see if there is a new button for sys user. There is not. So I'm going to make one. In fact, I can change this and I'm going to say, I want to create a new button for sys user whenever, a little bit of a shortcut there. I don't know if you caught that. Those fields are already filled out because the filter is already looking at those two fields. It says name and table. Because I'm looking for this, when I create a new record, it's going to have that filled out. That's how related lists work. When you're creating a new record on a related list, it already has a pre-canned filter to reference the parent record. Why you don't have to. You may want to tweak it, but you don't have to fill out the parent record that the related record is linked to. It's because it's already part of the sysparm query. It says, oh, if that's what you're looking for, I'll fill it out. So little trick, I believe Jeremy's going to be talking about that soon. So stick with us for list filters next Tuesday. You may learn something more than you didn't know before. Now, the action name is important in this case. There are some predefined out-of-box action names. Take a look at some of the predefined out-of-box actions. In fact, I'm going to back up. I'm going to undo what I just did and say, if this is incident and this is on a related list, the action name for new is always sysverb new. There's sysverb new, there's sysverb update, there's sysverb cancel. Take a look at that. There's sysverb. Take a look at the UI actions and pay attention. Some of these action names are special. I encourage you to create an action name on all of yours. Make them unique, make them meaningful. Just don't start them with sysverb or you could run into issues. So sysverb new is the new action name. System recognizes that and does special things. And it says, if you can create, you get a new button. Why would you present a new button to somebody who can't create? That's always a best practice to put that into your condition. Don't present this new button if all you're going to do is create a record and the ACL says, oh, sorry, you can't create records here. That's just cruel and unusual punishment. There's this other thing that says RP is related list. RP is many-to-many list. And they're negating some of these to say it's not a many-to-many. Has role. You can do something like that. I believe there's also a way to check if the view is sys ref list is the name of the list. So you can do that and create your own for that table. I'm not going to go into that whole exercise right here because there's another topic that I want to dig in deeper to. But you get the idea that your new button can change the behavior of the default button. What does the default one look like? Well, it's on a table called global. And you can see there's 5 of them here. Some are, well, they're all list actions, as we can see from this column. So they're all list actions. Some are on many-to-many, some are related lists, some are normal lists. Even new button behaves differently in global than it does in the other. But this is one that you're going to get. So if you had a related list and you said, I don't want a new button there, but I don't want to check I'd go with list control first. It's a configuration option rather than getting into this nitty gritty. But it could be, I'm just pointing this out because it could be, if you don't see the list control acting behavior, check this one. That's where I was going with that. Whew. Anything else we got left? Akil, hello, hello, hello. Good to see everybody hanging out. Notifications are working. I'm glad it's there. I'm going to flip gears because there's a service portal thing that I wanted to show you. I'm going to go back to my personal developer instance. We're going to go on a deep dive topic. Let's play the deep dive music. In Service Portal configuration, you can create what we call templates. Templates are a great way to make reusable HTML on a widget. So I am going to take my good old CLS widget that I had last week. It is very simply because it's half built. Very simple, goes out, creates a data table of incidents ordered by number and puts in the short description and number in there. And I was showing last week how index, last, and first work, but I'm going to take those out for the moment. And you are in CLS 528, but global is your fine. It won't let me edit the widget because I'm in the wrong scope. So let's go back to CLS 528. Should have seen that coming. Now I can edit it. Let's take those out for a moment and explain what's going on. Let's put the preview away just for a second. All I have really here is a server script that goes and collects data and puts it into the data table object as an array of little objects. In there, I am going over the list with this ng repeat. And this is like a for each. It says, go through the data table array and pull out one element at a time and call it inc. And in there, I am going to simply put in inc.number and inc.short description. Make sure you spell your objects and properties correctly. Save that, preview that, and I get a simple list of number and whatever. What templates do is they allow me to create reusable chunks of code. Okay, maybe let's say, for example, I wanted this list length to appear at the top and the bottom. And it was a fairly long piece of code. Or I just want to abstract that HTML to be reusable, to be more manageable, more configurable. I've got a few widgets where the HTML template gets 100 lines long. And I don't want all of the formatting details in there. I want more the logic of the presentation. If this condition is true, go present this thing. And that thing is off in a separate file. So what I can do, I'll show you, is it's not here by default for whatever reason. And that might be because of my formatting. No, it's not. Okay. I didn't see it and I wanted to make sure. Let's go to, got to start by going to widgets. Unless you can create a template from here. I don't think you can. That's a widget. Create new widget? Nope. Clone widget? Nope. Pivot tables? Nope. Okay. So the way you started is kind of a little wonky. Under Service Portal Widgets, I have my CLS list right here at the top. On the related list, make sure you do this in the right order so you don't lose your work. Remember which one you edited last and save it. So I'm going to save that just to be very, very safe, and then refresh this one just to make sure that everybody's up. We're in sync. I only have to do this part once per template, but then editing the template. Down here is Angular NG templates. If I create a new template, and let's call this ink count, and I don't have to put really anything in here. Maybe I will. Just some HTML commenting. Display the count of incidents. Submit that. And, well, that wasn't exactly what I expected. Somehow it displayed that again. And then let's create another one just for fun. There's one. It shows up in the related list now. Ink count and ink list. Display the list of incidents. Right now it's number and short description. Somebody may change the data model later and I'll get something else. So I create these two pieces. Now back on the widget editor, I'm going to do a refresh. Notice, fingers crossed the demo gods are happy. The demo gods are happy. We get success today. I now have this templates down here. I'm going to reduce that just so it renders a little accurately. I have my two template names. What good is that? Well, let's say just for sake of argument that I take this out and I put it in. Let's open up the incident count widget. Put that HTML in there. Why would I want to do that? Because I may want the count at the top and bottom of the list. Well, that's kind of crazy, Chuck. Well, call me crazy, but you know what? It happens an awful lot in ServiceNow that you see the same kind of incident count and widget and other stuff at the top of the list and the bottom of the list. Hey, this is starting to sound familiar. Or you may have a button at the top and bottom of a very long list. So let's say somebody's on their mobile device and they're going scroll, 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 scroll. Oh, I'm at the bottom of the list and the only way I can get back to the home page is scroll all the way back to the top. You're crazy. Put a home button at the bottom too. You can do this with templates. Also good for, well, let's instantiate that. Let's put a div tag in there and we do an ng include. Here's the cookie part. It goes in double quotes, but the template name also has to go in single quotes. I've messed this up so many times, it's not even funny. Ink count. So there is a single quoted ink count inside the double quoted ink list. And I don't need that blank line. In fact, I don't even need that. Let's do the save, which will get us a new preview. Where'd it go? Oh no, when in doubt, pull up the developer console. Did it freak out on me? It's a nice preview. I don't need it in a responsive mobile preview, whatever the heck it's doing. Let's do that. And it says, failed to load the resource. The server responded with status of 400. So something isn't happy somewhere, obviously. We can also look at this on its own page, which I often do when I'm debugging widgets, because this starts to get a little crowded. Did I spell it improperly? I don't think so, because it's called ink-count. This is where I go look at another example of what I did. Maybe I used it wrong. In here, I have an ng include equals double quotes, single quotes inside double quotes. There's another one. Very odd. I also have one up here. Thought I had one. Find include. There, one at the bottom. Very simple. What did I get wrong? I think you missed a hyphen in your first template example. I've got one there, I've got one there, I've got one there. Oh, right there. It is. That's why the HTML wasn't rendering properly. Thank you, Shane. Take a look at that. Still don't have an incident count. Interesting. ng include. Okay, where's still hitting a mystery here. Save that again, see what it says. Bad request. Just having a problem with the get. What is it? It doesn't, these are tough to read, I admit. So much for that example. Let's try copying an example that already works. We're going to pull this from here. I know I saved them. They're out there. Maybe it doesn't have valid HTML in it. Maybe we need to put a div tag in here and do that. I'll bet that's it. I'll bet each template needs its own start and end div. So before I try copying from the other place, let's go to this one. Saved, nothing. Let's put the server script away. It's kind of getting in my face. We have a very simple ng include. I didn't spell that incorrectly or it wouldn't render properly. The page you're looking for could not be found. Oh, I did paste paginator in there somewhere. Now that totally makes sense. Inc count. That's the name of this widget, is it not? I go to Service Portal, Widgets, CLS list, and I gave it a name. I give an ID. It's not the name. There isn't even a name field in here. It's an ID. I go back here. There it is. Okay. Still not sure what that is. So there I have my length. You do need the div tags. Whew, that was fun. Let's do the other one. So instead of rendering the HTML in here, let's pull that out and put it into the inc list. Hey, learn more by making mistakes, right? Now we know we need a div tag in here. We don't need the ng repeat because it's being triggered from here. What I do need is to put the short description and number out this way and do my ng include equals double, and inside the double I have single, which says inc list. Very simply done. Save that. I should see the same output. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, waiting for the dots to finish. This is New York. 18 months after we did our rebranding, we still have a legacy logo. How about that? Wait for it. We know that inc count works. There we are. So we have our list. This is nice because it's not terribly obvious from here, but it cleans this up to say, look, the presentation of this particular list is done elsewhere. So my logic and my display, my HTML template is generally much shorter here than it would be if I'd done that. Plus, I get the added benefit of saying, maybe I want the incident count at the top and the bottom, as I mentioned before. All I do is copy that one line, and it calls the same template. Maybe, for example, I want some styling in here. You can put in more than I guess it's standard HTML to put in a style tag. Maybe this widget has its own particular styling that's not part of the global widget. You can now, in a sense, scope your CSS to say, list may be color blue. And this div, if I said class equals list, is going to come out, hopefully, blue. All right, there's blue. But if my widget had a particular piece that was overriding that, perhaps the number was inside a span tag that had a class of number, and it's only used here, number, take the other half of that span, put it on that side, the overall list is going to be, you know what, I'm done with that window. It's just getting annoying. The overall list is going to be blue, but the number piece of it is going to be whatever this class turns out to be. Dot number is, let's make it green, color or background. Here we go. Background, what looks good with a blue background? Not black. Needs to be something lighter. Cyan. Sure, that works. Background color, cyan. Could have made it pink just to burn your retinas. And I do that. This has sort of its own private style scope. This could apply to divs and tables and whatever else. So if there's something that's used only in this particular piece of the template, I'll often put it in the CSS for that piece of the template. If it's something that's more broad for the entire widget, it's got to apply across all HTML. We'll call this the global HTML, and all the private HTML in the templates. Then, of course, put it in this CSS. If it's something that applies to the entire site, you can elevate it up to the site CSS, page CSS. Lots of different ways you can put your CSS together for that. But you get the idea of what this is for. To prove that my count is also down here at the bottom of the list, hooray, there it is. Length 83. And maybe I come back and decide, ooh, that's not visible enough. We want the incident count to have its own style. So let's do style tag here, just to make it stand out. Now I'm just having fun in the last minute or so. We'll put dot count equals, or not equals. Well, my CSS just went out the door. Count, and put background color is something dark, maybe 444, and color is white or FFF. It was interesting that if it's 6 of the same digits, you can just put in 3. Never quite figured that out. Just one of those weird CSS things. And then class equals count. Save that. Ding, now it's more readable. We get down here, it's more readable, and you can see how templates work. So consider using those if you're doing Service Portal, either something that's repetitive, even though this is only called once, inc list. I started a widget out and I put the list component into a separate widget, and it turns out I used it 3 more times, not thinking about where the scope of this was going. Went, wow, that was handy. Made it very easy to scale that out, rather than, oh, what part do I have to cut out? And oh, it's got some embedded stuff in here that it makes it more modular within your widget. And of course, if you do see on the surface that you need to add this and say, oh, this is a specific component that I need to use multiple times in this widget, then I'm going to put it in here so that I can easily instantiate that with an ng include. That's my send off, my deeper dive topic for today. Appreciate you joining me, and look forward to seeing you again real soon. Again, no shows until at least the 22nd. I'll try to do a live stream on Tuesday, October 22nd. Definitely be doing the Tech Now. Sorry, I was trying to think what was it? It was mixed up in my head. Tech Now on Tuesday the 22nd on Guided App Creator. Looking forward to seeing you. Until then, take care, have a wonderful time, and code safely. Bye.